Hello friends, welcome to this video. So in this video we will be talking about a new framework, SolidJS, which is very popular among developers, and we will be trying to build a user CRUD application inside this. It is very much similar to React.js, but it is very much performant. It is very effective in terms of it doesn't have virtual DOM as opposed to React.js. We will be looking at a full crash course, full step-by-step tutorial to how to build this CRUD application. So we will be storing the user details such as name, email address, profile picture, country, and we will be having actions such as you can edit the information or delete this. So we have a simple form right here where you can actually write the name of the user, then you need to write the email address, and from your file system you can upload a image file right here, and then you can write country. So now if you click the button, this alert box will be shown by Sweet Alert Library, and you will see one record has been added. So we are actually using base64 code to actually embed images. You will see that. So this is the actual state of the application. If I close this window and again try to go to the same URL, you would see that it is actually storing these details in the local storage, and you can see you can delete this as well. So if I again open it, you will see that these details stay in the browser because it is stored inside local storage. So in this way you can add some more entries like this. So we can actually pick so one other entry has been added, and we have this edit button. If you click the edit button, it will look something like this. You can change the email address or name. Let me make the modification. Click on OK. So now you can see that the name has been simply be changed right here. You will see that name is changed. So in this way you can add as many entries as you want. So it is not stored inside database, it is just storing in the local storage of the browser, of the specific browser. I will also show you how to deploy this application to Vercel, which is actually a platform where you can deploy your cloud applications. So for building this, we are using SolidJS, which is a new framework, a reactive JavaScript library, and it is very much performant. It doesn't re-render whenever your DOM changes, whenever your state changes, as opposed to React.js, which actually uses virtual DOM. This SolidJS doesn't use virtual DOM. It doesn't require you to actually refresh your components whenever your data changes inside the component. So let's suppose we actually write some record right here. We add the record. So when we click this add person button, so it will only update that component which is affected by this data. It will not re-render the entire application as opposed to React.js, which uses virtual DOM. So this is the main benefit of using SolidJS, which is it is very much beneficial in terms of you don't need to re-render the entire application. It only re-renders the component which are affected by the data. So you will see, you will be looking at when we develop the application from scratch. So the whole source code is given in the description of the video. So you can purchase it from procodestore.com from a website. The link is given in the description. So you will actually get a zip file from Google Drive after you make the payment. So the link is given. This will be the directory structure of the source code. You will see we will be writing JSX code. It is similar to React.js, but it uses signals and store. So it's a reactive library, and it is based upon primitives, and it uses the concept of create signal. Signals are very much the concept in SolidJS, which allows them to actually update only the components which are affected with the data, not re-render the entire application. So this will be the source code you will be getting after you make the payment if you need the source code. So now let's start this application from scratch, and I will be seeing you in the next section when we start building this application. Now guys, we will start building the SolidJS application. So the very first step we need to do, we need to go to the project directory, and there is this command which you need to execute: npx degit solidjs slash templates. So it supports both TypeScript and JavaScript. For this specific tutorial, we will be looking at JavaScript slash js template slash js. So this is the command npx, then you type degit solidjs slash template slash js. So you can even write ts as well if you're working with TypeScript, but for this tutorial we'll be using JavaScript. Then the name of your application, let me call this as person crud app. Just enter it and it will actually clone the basic SolidJS project inside your this directory person crud app. So you will see it has cloned this to this directory. Now we can navigate to this directory person crud app. So if you see the directory structure of a basic SolidJS app, it will look something like this. We have this app.jsx folder. It will look very similar to React.js, and it is very much similar. You will see that we have the app.jsx file, we have this index.css file which is a global style sheet file, then we have index.jsx file which actually contains this render method which is contained inside solidjs/web, and this render method actually wraps your app level component and serves it inside the browser. So just we need to install these modules. So we just need to invoke npm I command. This will create node modules folder right in the root directory. Then we will set up a Tailwind CSS, so because we are using Tailwind CSS as a user interface framework. So I will show you how to set up Tailwind CSS in SolidJS. It's very easy. So it will hardly take 5 to 10 seconds installing this, and if you want to check out the documentation, just write SolidJS, and it has a very rich ecosystem and it has great documentation as well. You can see that the references docs are very good, and we will also be using Sweet Alert 2, which is a pop-up dialog library. This is a normal alert boxes that you see, but it customizes to actually see this beautiful looking custom pop-up dialogs. So we'll be using the Sweet Alert 2. I will show you how to integrate this inside SolidJS. So now it is installed. So we just need to say npm I Sweet Alert 2. This is actually the package we are using it, npm I Sweet Alert 2. So enter it, install this as well. So after this guys, we need to actually integrate Tailwind CSS, and for integrating Tailwind CSS, just right here, integrate Tailwind CSS with SolidJS. So the very first article which comes right here, simply go to it, and they basically give you the instructions here. And so we are actually just need to copy this command right here. So we need to install these dependencies as dev dependencies npm install -d. First is Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, Auto Prefixer. These are the three dev dependencies which will get added if you check in the package.json file. So we have this dependencies which are SolidJS. We are using it on Sweet Alert 2. And SolidJS actually works with a Vite development engine. You will see that Vite is actually a environment for developing front-end projects, such as React can also be developed, Vue. So similarly, SolidJS supports Vite, which is a pretty good development environment where you will be able to run your project. So you will see in the dev dependencies sections we have installed Auto Prefixer, Post CSS, and Tailwind CSS. And the next step is to actually create a Tailwind config.js file. For automatically creating it, we can actually write this command npx tailwind css init-p. So this command will actually create two files, tailwind config.js file and post css config file. So just execute this command, and you will see in the left hand side, it will create these two files. You will see tailwind config.js and this post CSS one. So inside your tailwind config.js, simply copy this code and I will just paste it right here. It's very easy to integrate Tailwind CSS. All the instructions are given, and then it is telling to us that inside your global index.css file right here, this is a file. Simply copy paste this code. That's all. Now you can actually use your Tailwind CSS classes inside your JSX app level component. So here we can give it a, and the very first difference, if you notice guys, in React.js we actually use class name, but in SolidJS we can use class directly like this. So this makes it very much easy to write JSX, because in traditional web development we use class. So we don't need to write class name right here. We can directly use class here, and then we can use some Tailwind classes, bg 500, and we can say person CRUD app in SolidJS. So if you want to run this application, you simply write npm run dev. So this will actually start your development application at port number localhost 3000, and if you navigate to it, you will see that. So the classes have been successfully applied. You will see that. So we have w full class as well. You will see that. So the very first, I think I need to show you guys the very basic concept of SolidJS, which actually based upon signals. So SolidJS uses a concept called as signals, which is called how they track changes, how they react to changes in the state. So they manage state by using signals. So first of all, I will show you a very basic example. So in React.js, we actually use a state by using view state, but inside this SolidJS we have a hook. So let me take a very simple example, set counter, and this will look very familiar to you when you use React.js. But in this we have this create signal in SolidJS. If you type here create signal, automatically it will be imported from SolidJS, if you see that. And here you can put a initial value. This counter is actually a function, not a variable. In React.js, this counter is a variable and this set counter is a function. But in SolidJS, set counter is also a function and set counter is also a function. And here you can put a initial value of counter, let's suppose 0. And now we can simply embed this value. Let's suppose we can say that in paragraph, the current, we can access this using the current value of counter is, and then in curly bracket we can say counter. If you just write like this counter, if you don't put the parentheses, you will get an error. In SolidJS you can't directly, it will say current value counter is 0, but this, if I change this to let's suppose 5, it will still work, but the correct way of accessing the state, this is actually a function. So we just need to say here parentheses. So right now this will also work, but this is the recommended way. This is a function, not a variable. And now I will simply add a button right here to actually change this state. We can say add, and we can actually bind a on click to it. So when we click it, we can execute this function add. We can define this function like this, and when this button is hit by the user, so when this button is hit by the user, you will see add is not defined. So just put a parentheses right here, I think. Now you okay. So whenever you call the function, you just need to write parentheses. It's a function. So I'm just telling you, if you're coming to SolidJS, if you are a beginner, you just need to first of all know the very basic concept of signal before we can develop the CRUD app. So here, when you click this button, this function will execute, and what this function will do, it will actually call this function set counter you will see that we are calling this function set counter, and right here inside this function we will increment the value of counter by 1 like this. And now if you click it, so I think we have made a mistake right here, sorry. Again, if you see guys, this is not a variable, that's why it is creating error, because if you see, if I click the add button, it will simply showing the function right here. It's not a function, it's not a variable, so we need to simply write like this, counter parentheses. So now this is actually a function, we are calling this function right here. And if you see, as we click this, so let me see, let me rerun the application, npm run dev. Sorry guys, I forgot to do this. This is, we just don't need to write parentheses here, because if you just write here parentheses in the add function, it will only execute once. If you see, the value is increased by 1, and if I again click this button, nothing will happen. So you don't need to write parentheses here. We are simply calling this function. So whenever you click the add button, we will call this function programmatically. So if you see, now this will work. If I click the button, the value of counter will change and it will be incremented every time by 1. So I just want to show you a benefit of the base component will only execute once. So in SolidJS, as compared to React.js, it actually uses virtual DOM, but in SolidJS we don't use the concept of virtual DOM. The app component that you see right here, it only executes once whenever the application starts. So let me write a console log statement right here. So let me say app component is loading. So if you see right here, this statement will be executed in the browser console only once. You will see that this statement that you see right here, app component is loading. So this is one. If I again click it, you will see that this function, this statement is not repeating again and again. This is the biggest advantage of using SolidJS guys, because the component only renders once. And right here, if you add one other static statement, this is person CRUD app, because this is a static statement. This is not dependent upon this state that you are referencing right here, which is counter state. So this will also execute once. So let's suppose you can have another function. Let's suppose you can declare another state right here, name, set name, and the initial value of create signal will be, let's suppose you are accessing this one. My name is like this. So this state is totally different bit to this state. So counter is not related to name. So if you now execute right here, the this statement will only execute once. And if you also check the elements right here, whenever you click the add button, the thing that you see, this will remain constant. This h1 tag, this Gautam's value is static. This value is not related to the counter value, so that's why it will not re-render. SolidJS doesn't re-render, it only re-renders the stuff which is related to the counter stuff. So if I again click the add button, only this statement will change the current value of counter. The rest of the stuff will remain constant and it doesn't re-render the component. So this is the biggest advantage of using SolidJS. It is very good in performance whenever you deploy applications which are very large and complex. If you have a lot of components, then in that case it will not re-render every component from scratch whenever any state changes or any data changes inside your application, as opposed to React.js. So in React.js, this is the biggest problem, and SolidJS solves these problems very easily by using the concept of create signals. So now if you know your create signal, one other method is there, on mount, which is actually a hook, which is very similar to use effect. This function only executes when you're if you want to do something whenever your component is loaded. So if you check right here, this on mount will actually load it right here. If you check the console, if I delete everything, you will see app component is loading and this component is loaded. So on mount executes as soon as your component loads for the very first time. So inside this section you can do something. Let's suppose if you want to do some kind of configuration related to your application, you can do right here. So I just wanted to introduce to guys SolidJS as a framework, wow, why it is created and what problem does it solve before we develop CRUD application. And in the next section guys, we will start building the CRUD application. So I will be seeing you in the next section. Now guys, we will be start building the project. So for actually building the project, we need state or data. So we will be defining the state here, and defining state in SolidJS is very simple as compared to React.js. We don't need any extra library such as Redux or context. We don't use or we don't need to use state in every file, use effect. So there is a very simple formula in SolidJS. You create a store in the source directory. You need to create a folder. It can be anything, but I am just calling it as store. And inside this store, you actually create the file. Let me call this as person data.js. So you can call this file any name of your choice, and it can be TypeScript file as well, but as you will be working with JavaScript. So we call this as person data.js. So inside this file, we will be actually be containing all the state variables and the methods. We will define it at a very single level, at a global level, so that each and every component that we define later on will get access to this file. We can simply include this file, and let me just first of all import the create store from the SolidJS store. So this is the basic method which is provided by SolidJS if you want to create a store. Store is something like state, you may call, for your application, which may be accessible by every component. You just need to include this file and then you can simply access it by the dot symbol. I will show you later on. So first of all, in this case, we need to define the array here. We will be storing a person's data. So this will be persons, and we will be having set persons, very similar to React. But here we will use this create store method, and right here we will be storing it inside local storage. So we will say json.parse local storage dot get item, and we will be defining it as persons. So here we will simply say if the local storage is not defined, in that case we will be defining a array of users. So by default we will have two records available right here. We can simply define these records. So I will later on show you how to iterate through them. We can have another JavaScript object right here. This is just a static data. So you can basically pull this data from API, database, anything you can do it. So the concept will remain the same. So I just want to show you how to display this data on the browser. So now you have defined a store, guys, and right here we defined a array of object which contains two objects right here, name, email, country. These are three properties, and now we can simply export this. So how we can do that? We can simply say export and parenthesis curly bracket, and simply export this from this file. So now this store that you created is accessible by each and every component that it will import. So this is the very fundamental thing that SolidJS support. It allows you to actually declare state in a single file, and then you can reference that state in each and every component. You don't require Redux, you don't require context, you don't require any special library which you saw in React.js. No, It's very simple setup. You define the create store, you define your data, and now we can actually go to our app.jsx, and right inside this file we can create two components. Let me create a component here first of all to show this data on a table. So we'll be creating this component called as percent table. So right in the source directory, just create a components folder and just create percent table dot .jsx. So this will be a simple functional component, and the percent table it will return. So we can now include this component right here, percent table. So it will import it from the components folder. You will see that. So if you refresh your application, if you go localhost 3000, so if you go to the console, it is saying that percent table dot .jsx. Oh, sorry, we accidentally imported React. You will see that, so we don't need React here. Simply now you will see, guys, percent table is showing right here. We are actually including components. So SolidJS, if you have a large application, you can split your code into multiple components. Just create a components folder and just write. It is very much similar to React.js. It's a functional component basically. And right inside this component, we will loop through our users, which we defined in the store file. If you see, we define this data right here. Now this data that you define, it is similarly accessible in this component. We directly can simply import this, import persons, and you will see automatically VS Code will do the importing for you. It is importing it from the store file, person data. Just make sure that you return this statement export person so that it can be importable. If you don't write this, you can't import this. So after that, we can simply loop through. So right here, we can just write a console log statement right here. This is a percent table component. So right here, we will actually have a table inside this table tag. We will be giving some classes to it of tailwind classes, minimum width, full, divide, y, divide, gray, 200, margin top, I will give it 8. After that, we will say table heading, which is name, which is email, and lastly for country. We will show you profile picture later on. I just want to show you how to loop through the data in SolidJS. So we have, if you see, if you refresh it, we have these 3 columns: name, email, country. And now if you want to loop through this data, we simply write here in the table body. So SolidJS does provide us a for each loop. It has its own conditionals. You can use for each right here, but we will be using the SolidJS, which is this for loop that is provided. It is built in inside SolidJS. If you see, it is imported. So this tag, inside this we have the each statement, and here you will provide your persons. So we can import this persons right here that we imported, just defined right here inside the store file. So we are referencing directly. You will see that we just imported it. So no complex setup. We are simply references it by including the file of store. This is the main simplicity of SolidJS. You can, the state is very simple to define and include. Now in the, we have this person. For each person we will have the index variable, and this is similar JSX. We have the loop right here, and we can loop through it tr, and we can simply say here curly bracket, we can say person dot name like this, and then we can say person dot email like this. So very simple. So this is all React.js, person dot country, that's all. So if you refresh, so you will see that, guys, if you see, the data is coming from local storage. So for this I need to refresh the browser here, or you can open your application in a brand new incognito window, so that the different browser localhost 3000, and now you can see that that data that we defined is coming. You will see that this is the simplistic use of SolidJS, guys. If you want to do this similar thing in React.js, it will require a lot of code. It will require a lot of external library, Redux, in some cases context API. So it's a lot of messy things in React.js. But in SolidJS, it's very simple. You define all your state, all your methods in a separate store file, in similarly that we defined right here. We export it, and now in any component that we defined in the application, we can directly import the state, and directly we can reference it. This is the magic of SolidJS. So it has speed, it has simplicity, it has everything. So it doesn't have virtual DOM. So you will see the component will render only once. You will see %table component. If you make any sort of changes, it will not re-render because it doesn't involve virtual DOM. So this is the thing about SolidJS. So now what we can do, we can simply add a form right here where we allow the user to actually enter information such as name, email, country, profile picture. So we will be looking at this in the next section. Now guys, in this section we will be developing a simple form where we allow the user to actually enter this information, name, email, country. We'll also look at the profile picture as well. So for that we just need to create a brand new component in the components folder. So just create this person, just follow Pascal case. So person form JSX. So just create this functional component right here, and now we can include this component right at the top, which is person form. So we can see we have included that, and now we can go to that component person form right here. We can delete this statement React one. So right here guys, we just have a simple form right here to actually, for first of all doing this, we need to actually declare some state variables in this. So whatever the user will write, we need to store that. So we'll be again be using create signal. So we'll be using the name, set name, and you using create signal once again. So create signal is the main, you will see a lot of create signals used in SolidJS. It's the main recipe of building SolidJS application. Similarly, we'll be doing it for email as well. Then we will have for profile picture. So profile picture. So in this we will be storing the base64 URL. We will be encoding the base64, converting array buffer to base64 and then storing it. So again we'll be using create signal, and initial value will be empty. And then we will be doing it for the country as well, set country. And lastly, we do need to have a reference to that image input, so that whenever we submit the form, that input is cleared. So form is resetted. So we will have this again, this create signal. This time the value will be null by default. So these are the state variables which are required for this person form. So this is specific to this component. That's why we are not writing these in the store file, because this is specific to this person form component. That's why we just need to write this in this file only. So after you do this, we just need to have a form right here. We can simply write a form, and we can give it a class of space y4, and so right here we will have a div, and inside this we will have a label block text font medium. So these are all Tailwind classes. Text gray 700. So the label will be simply name. So here we'll allow the user to actually enter the name, and then we'll have input text type will be text, and we'll be giving actually this class empty margin top 1 block. Width will be full and it will be rounded on medium devices, border gray 300, and it will have some shadow on small devices. So this is a pseudo class focus. We'll be giving a border of indigo 300, focus ring indigo. So CSS is not necessary, guys. I'm just writing it to simply style it. We'll also be giving opacity, and it's required. So if you just refresh your application, you will see this name input is added right here. If you see that, and just make sure inside app.jsx, just give it a container class right here. So it will have some container class applied. So just zoom in right here. So after you do this, we just need to mx auto px, yeah, mx auto, we also need to say margin auto p4. So with this applied, your form will be centered. So it will have some spacing from left and right, and now this is right in the center position. So after you do this, we will repeat this. We will copy this, repeat this for the email. So simply copy this, and this time this will be type will be email, and the label will be email. So if you see, there will be two fields added, name, email. Similarly, this will be for the third one, and fourth one will be country. So I will change it to country, input type text. So this third one will be for profile picture. So input type file here. So you will see that. So here now you can actually select your profile picture, and this is country, and after that we will have a simple button to actually submit the form. So you can say add person. You're giving a class of margin top 4, px4, py padding 2, bg blue 5, 600, text white, and it should be rounded on medium devices. You'll have a button right here. You will see that. So just button type attribute submit, and here we need to attach some attributes to these input elements. So one such attribute, we will be attaching it to the form right here at the very top. So when we submit the form, there is an attribute right here on submit, used in React.js also. So this is same right here in SolidJS. So we will be executing this function handle submit. We need to now define this function handle submit. This e parameter will be passed here. We need to simply say e.prevent default to prevent the auto submission of the form. And now for each input element, we just need to attach a attribute right here. This attribute will be the on input. So whenever you start writing something right here, it can also be on change as well. We will be using on input. So you will say set name to be e.target.value. So this is the on input that we attach. Similarly, we need to do it for this email as well. So this time this will be set email. And for profile picture, this is actually a input type file. Here we will actually select a media file. So for that, we just need to attach on change. So when the file changes, in that case we'll be attaching this function handle file change. So we now need to define this function right here. We'll simply define this. So this e parameter will be passed right here in the argument. So apart from that, we also need to attach a ref attribute right here, ref that we declared, which is set file input. This is coming create signal, you will see. So these are all the methods that we define: set name, set email, set country, set file input, set profile picture. So we are actually attaching these create signals to these individual input elements. So this is, so whenever their value changes, you will actually handle this inside create signal. So after you do this, similarly we just need to attach it for the country as well as. So we'll simply say here on input set country. So here e parameter will be passed here. So e dot target dot value, like this. So in this way you can do it. So after you do this, we just need to, if you just refresh, nothing will happen. If you click the add person button, we do need to actually write this handle submit function. But before that, for the profile picture in this handle file change method, so we just need to get the profile picture selected by user. So for that, we just need to declare a file variable, and you'll simply store e.target.files, and it will be an array. So you'll be storing the first file which is selected by user, and here in the if condition, you will simply check that you will read this by using file reader API, which is available in browser. So reader.onload_end. This is basic JavaScript code for actually reading the file. So we'll simply say set profile picture, and we'll be reading the base64 code by using this. So it will return the base64 code, and we'll be using this function read as data URL. So this is provided by this file reader API. Now we just need to call, that's all. This function will get called, and then when the file is successfully read, then we'll be calling this signal function set profile picture, and the file image data will be assigned reader.result. That's all. So now after we submit the form, we can simply return an alert statement right here, form is submitted, just to check. If you refresh, write something in the name, email, select your profile picture, let's suppose. So you will see form is submitted. So it is successfully executing this function. So now inside this function, we just need to actually define a method inside our store which allows you to actually add the data in the local storage. So we will simply go to this file %data.js. So right here, if you see, we have this. We can delete for now. We don't need this. We can delete this. This will be empty array. If the local storage doesn't contain any data, this will be assigned as empty. So right here, we define a function in this file which allows you to actually add a person in local storage. We will define a add person, and this will take person as argument. So inside this method, guys, what we need to do, we'll say set person. We'll call this create store, this function right here, in order to add a new entry. So for doing this, we'll call this function, and we'll say we'll use the spread operator dot. This will actually copy the previous person's array, and then we'll add this person to this array. This is basic JavaScript, and the spread operator will actually copy the previous data in just present in the array, and then this entry will be get added in the persons array. After that, we need to add this to the local storage. We'll say local storage set item person, and then we'll say convert this into JSON, convert to a JSON string, so JSON.stringify, and then dot 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 persons person. That's all. So we are setting this in the local storage. That's all. 2 lines of code. So now we need to export this method. So simply right here you can say add person. So it is that easy. So we define the methods which will manipulate the state in a single file, and now we can export this method, and now we can include this method right inside this component. We need this method, so we can simply say import add person from the store file. You will see that it will automatically get imported. Now we can use this method inside this component. So first of all, we will call this add person, and here we'll pass the name to be name parentheses because it's a function, not a variable. So we need to access this using parentheses, so it will get this value. And similarly, email to be email, and then the profile picture is the profile picture. Lastly, the country will be country. Very simple. You will see that. So after we do this, define this, we can actually show a alert message to the user, sweet alert. So for that, we just need to import the sweet alert package. It will automatically get imported from sweet alert 2. So it contains a notification message. You can say success, and we can simply say user created successfully. And then the third argument is the icon that you need to pass right here, and there are various icons available. We will be showing the success icon, and then we need to reset the form. So you will say set name to be nothing, set email to be nothing, and set, and then for the file input, that's why we given that ref attribute to it. So now we can simply check, call this file input right here, and just check if the file input is there, then we need to reset that. So file input dot value nothing. That's all. This will reset the input field, and set profile picture to also be nothing, and set country to be also be. So that's all. And if you just refresh now, hopefully we will able to be adding. You will see currently nothing is there, so local storage is empty. So we will define a record. We define your picture right here, and we will say user created successfully. If you see, you will not see profile picture because we in the last tutorial we haven't added the profile picture, if you see. So now if you want to show the profile picture as well, just add this entry right here, and right here we will have an image tag and source person. So we'll be using a base 64 for this, because to actually show the picture we will actually be using base 64 code for doing this. Person dot profile picture, yeah, so we can directly reference that. So person dot profile picture, and we can actually give it a class. So if you see, just refresh it, the image size is pretty large. So for doing that, it's width and height and okay. So you can see that. So now the image is showing like this. We just need to add a table heading for that, which is profile picture. So So you can see that now the name, email, profile, picture, country is showing. You can add any other record right here in the local storage. So record is inserted, but if you see the form is not resetting it. If you let me see what is the problem. So all the things are perfectly showing, but the form is not resetting. Set name to be set name nothing, set email nothing. If file input, if you just refresh now, this entry will stay. If I close this tab and again reopen that, the local storage is actually, the data will stay right here in the browser. You will see that. So you can just write any data. So another user is created. So you will see that how easy it is. And now I will show you how to actually edit and delete as well. So just inside this, we will be actually be having the edit and delete buttons. So this will be edit button. The here will be delete button. So this I will call this as actions. So this will go in a separate component. So right inside components folder, just say here edit person, and similarly you'll be defining another component for delete person. So we can just include this right here in the person table component. So we can even pass information as a props as well, similarly as we pass in React.js. For this simple, we need to pass this index so that we can actually edit the user by its ID and delete as well. So for that, we don't need to define this index in the store file. We can't do it, so that we can directly pass this as a prop. So we can say that index is equal to index like this. So we are actually passing index to both these components as a prop. So now we can receive this very easily. So we can have this property props available by default in SolidJS. So you can also pass information by props as well to individual component. If you don't want to define it in a global file, you can even pass information as props as well, similarly as we did in React.js as well. So now we will be tackling this edit and delete section in functionality in the next section. So now guys, in this section we'll be tackling the delete button. So this is the component that we created in the last tutorial. So if you see in the last tutorial, we actually couldn't reset the form after we click the add person button. So for that the problem was very simple. In the person form component, we haven't attached the value parameter to the input type text parameter. We need to attach a value parameter, and this will be actual value, which is the name, like this. This is the name. You can see that we are referencing this name right here in the value parameter. Similar thing, we need to do it in the email as well. So email, don't need to do it in, we have already attached is the ref parameter. So this one for the country, value parameter and country. So now if you submit the form will reset. Click basically enter any name, email. So it will clear out the fields. So you will see the form is successfully reset. We just attach these value parameters right here. So after we do this, we come to the delete person component. So right inside this delete component, we have a simple button right here. So inside this button, we will simply have a td tag for, we'll have a button. So this button will say to the user that delete. So we'll actually be attaching a class to it of px4 py2 bgred 500 text white, rounded on medium devices. So if you just refresh now, there will be this, you do need to include this component. I think I forgot to do this. If you see in the person table component right here, we have this edit person and this is delete person. So this is delete person right here. So just refresh, you will actually see this delete button is appearing right here. So now to actually make this button working, we will actually attach a on click function right here. So when we click this button, this function will execute inline function, which is handle delete, and we will simply pass this props index. So as you can see, we are passing this property. This is the from person, which we are passing it this index property. If you see, as a property to this component, so we can directly say props dot index. It's a function, so that's why I put parentheses. So now we just need to define this function right here, handle delete, right inside this. So it will actually get this index passed as an argument right here. So with the help of this index, we can actually delete the user. We can simply show a notification message. So suite alert 2 is automatically imported. So right here we have this title, are you sure? And then we have the text, you won't be able to revert this. So we can also show warning as well, icon. Then we can even show a cancel button to be true. So we can also show a cancel button to the user to actually cancel the operation, and confirm button color. These are all CSS. We can control this. So what I can do, I can copy paste it. This you can all control it, this hexadecimal colors. So confirm button text, yes, delete it, and this will actually return a promise after you make the selection dot then, and we can actually get the result. And right here we can simply say if the user has clicked the delete button, then we need to delete the user. We'll call this function delete. So right inside your store file, again we'll go to that store file, and right here we will define a delete method. Similarly, we define a method for adding a user. Now we will be defining a method for deleting the user. So index, using the index variable, and here we will just perform filter. So this is a array method available in vanilla JavaScript ES6, and right here we will say if I is not equal to index. So we will basically get the array which neglect this index, so that user will be deleted from the array. Then we will be updating this by using set persons and passing this array update persons, and then we will update the local storage by setting item once again. Again use json.stringify updated person. So that's all 3 lines of code. We actually find out the user which was, and then we deleted this, we get this updated array, then we set this persons, We call this set person every time when we actually update our state. So this is coming from create store. Then we again update the local storage. We pass this array as in setting the item in local storage. That's all. This function is important, set persons. So every time you want to manipulate or change state in SolidJS, you call set person, and it will in turn call this create store, which is actually update your state automatically globally inside your application. So this is the magic of SolidJS. And if you now go to your delete person, right, we will call this function delete person. This will be imported if you see, sorry, what we call this. So sorry, we do need to actually export this. So we can say delete person like this. And now we can import this. So we can say here delete person. So it will get imported right here if you see from the store file. And right here we can simply pass the index to this function. After that, we can show a notification message again, deleted. Person has been deleted, and we can show a success message like this. So if you see, now we have the ability to delete the user. You'll see, are you sure? So that user will be deleted. So as you can see, we can delete any user. So as we are deleting it, the user is getting gone. So if you refresh, only one user is remaining, and if I close the browser, reopen it once again, so it will stay right here. You will see the local storage will actually detect only one user is available, then it will show that user to you. So in this way you can perform the delete operation. And now in the next section we will be seeing the update operation to actually update the details of a specific user. Now lastly guys, we will be actually be seeing how to update a user. This functionality will be slightly complicated because we do need to show a alert box when we click this edit button to actually allow the user to actually edit the details of a particular user. So right here, go to your edit person component, and right here we will actually have a simple button which will, so right here we will have a button. So this one's will be simply edit. So we'll be giving tailwind classes to it of margin right 2, px padding from the x direction is 4, padding from the y direction will be 2, background color will be yellow 500, text white. So if you see, the edit button is ready. Now we just need to attach a on click listener to this button. So when we click this edit button, similarly, we need to execute a function. So right here you will simply say handle edit, and here you again pass the index. So props.index. So right here you will actually be defining the function. Index will be passed as an argument right here, and inside this here we need to actually again go to the store file. So right, for the update functionality, we do need to actually have state variables. For this we need to have storing the index, for keep tracking the index. So for keep tracking the index, we will define a edit index and set edit index. So which user the user selects for updating, so this value will be keep tracking for that. So here the create signal will be, again we'll be using create signal, and this will be null. And the second one will be for the edit person, set edit person. So this is useful because when we actually click on this edit button for a particular user, these details that you see, the previous details, which should pre-pop in the alert box. For doing that, we need to actually create this create signal, and this will actually hold the built-in name, email, the profile picture, and the country. This will actually show the old information to the user so that the user can actually update that. So this is name, email, profile picture, country, and after that we will define a function in the store for updating the user. So you can see all the business logic which is for the CRUD application is stored in the single file, and now we can reference this file in various components. So we take the index and the updated person as two arguments to this function, and we actually first of all call set persons to actually update, passing the index and the updated person. This will actually update that user which has this index, and then it will update this updated person. Sorry, this is updated person. So it will update this information which is passed, which will be an object which will contain name, email, profile, picture, country, and it will actually update that info with that index number. So you may say that various indexes are there, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we just need to detect which index the user has selected. So let's suppose the user has selected the first user to be updated. So it will actually have this value index to be 0, and the updated information, whatever information the user provides. So this will manipulate the state. Again, we are using this updated person. This is the data which is coming. So again, we are calling this function set person. So every time we will call this function set person when we want to delete, update, or add person. This is the create store function. So after we manipulate or update the state, again we need to say local storage set item persons json.stringify. Very simple. Persons. That's all. So this is all. Now we just need to update all these variables and functions. So we'll say update person. We will say set edit index, set edit person. So we are updating all this, edit index as well. Edit person as well. So we are updating all this, exporting all this in our export one. So now we can import all these variables, methods that we there inside the store file, which will manipulate the data for state of the application. Now we will move to the edit person. Right in the handle edit function, we will actually require the function set edit index. So you can see it automatically imported from person data. We will set the index, pass this index which is selected by the user, and then again we will call this set edit person. And here we will pass the index persons.index, and then we will again use sweet alert, which is sweet alert. We will show a simple pop-up message to the user, edit person, and then we will be showing a HTML right here, and we will be pre-populating the old values such as the name, country, email address, and profile picture. So we'll be giving these classes while to input. So we just need to attach this value parameter, which will be coming from it will be coming from edit person dot, it will be a parentheses because it's a function, not a variable in SolidJS, dot name, and then close the parentheses. So here this edit person that you see, we actually got this edit person. So this edit person that we defined right here, if you see, This is a function and it has a property name. So we are actually accessing this using again this parentheses. If you see parentheses, you will see dot name. So this value will get x. Similarly, we will close this. We will copy this, repeat this for email. This will be ID, will be email, and placeholder will be, this will be email. This will be for profile picture. Input type will be of file. So the value will not be there. Just delete this for this. Then we will have for the country. That's all. And after you do this, we will have a simple so after you do this, we will close this. We will have another property here which will be focus confirm, and we will set it to true, false. Did open. This will be a, here will be a callback function right here. Let me just show to you, and if I click the edit button, I think some error is taking place in the console. It is saying persons is not defined. We also need to import the persons as well. So the persons is also imported. You will see the persons are actually this one. So all these things we are exporting from this file. So we are simply showing it. So if you click the edit button, you will see the details will be pre-populated. This is the name, email address. This is the profile picture. You need to update that. You need to simply, you can choose any other profile picture, and this is the country. You can change all these values, then click on OK. So when you now click OK, we now need to actually update this information. So this is slightly complicated. So what I will do, I will show you. Let me just copy this, and then this is all happening in that pop-up window. If you see, I think, let me just paste it here. All the source code, guys, is given in the description. You can directly purchase the full source code. Okay, I think this is creating. So here what is doing, guys, you can see that basically up till now we written this code right here. If you see, focus confirm false, and here we actually, for the profile picture, we will actually given an ID. If you see right here to the profile picture, we are simply targeting this using query selector. We are simply, if the profile picture is selected by user, if they want to change it, then this event handler will automatically get fired, change event handler, and then handle file change would be called, and here e parameter will be passed, set edit person. we will call this function set edit person. So we'll get the value. We have given each input field a ID parameter. If you see, this is ID name, ID email. So we will get all these values: name, email, profile picture, country. After, if they doesn't, please enter all the fields. We will show a message. So we will read the profile picture again by file reader API. Again, we will do the same thing, and we will read it as a base64 URL, and then we will resolve this promise: name, email, profile picture, and country. And this will return a promise. So if the update button is clicked, we will use this function which we define in the store file, update person. If you see, we are passing two arguments to this, which is the index and the update. We are passing this edit index and result.value. So edit index is actually coming from this function right here. You will see edit index. So whichever user they want to click on edit. So now if you want to change the name, click on OK. Let me see. Just refresh here. Let me inspect element. What is the error? It is saying that update person is not defined. I think we update person. So now this update person will be available to us. You will see that. So now if you refresh, click on edit. If you want to change this, edit index is not defined. Okay. You also need to import edit index, put a comma. So you can see the person has been updated. You can also change the profile picture. Let's suppose if you want to change it, this picture, you will see the profile picture is changed. You can delete a user, you can create a user. So the advantages of SolidJS, I already told you guys in the starting of the video. It doesn't contain virtual DOM as opposed to React.js. It doesn't re-render the component. It only updates the component when it needs to. And the state, you can see all the state has been defined in a single file. We have created the store file, person data. All the business logic is contained in a single file, and then we are importing the store file in each of the component. So all the methods that we need, we are simply requiring it at the very top and using it. So very simple application, very SolidJS. And now if you want to deploy this into a platform, we will also show you the deployment process as well. Let's suppose so SolidJS supports various platforms. I will show you Vercel platform, which is very famous for deployment. So we already have an account here, and so first of all, we do need to actually create. Let me also show you how we can build this SolidJS application, which is very simple. In your Vite configuration, you need to actually install a plugin right here, which is Vite plugin compression. So this is useful if you want to decrease the bundle size. So if you don't include this, if you directly build your application by npm run build, so what should happen? Basically, it will actually create a dist folder right inside your. It will create a dist folder. You'll see that it will actually contain this assets folder. The size here will be, the base library size is 95 kilobytes, and which is very much lower than React.js. React.js size is almost 150 kilobytes, so SolidJS library is almost small. So if you gzip it, then it will reduce from 95 to 27. So I will show you how to uh, uh, just decrease the bundle size by compressing it with the gzip and brotli, which is two famous compression algorithms. So inside assets folder you will actually see this, only this single JS file you will be importing it, 94 kilobyte size. Now there is one plugin out there in Vite, which you can install it as a dev dependency, which will allow us to actually decrease the size even further. So Vite plugin compression, this is the name of the library. So npm I dash dash d. So this is the actual Vite plugin compression. Simply install this. So it will install it as a dev dependency. So now you can see it is installed right here. If you check, so it is installed as a dev dependency, Vite plugin compression. So just move it into the dev dependency section and again include execute npm I, that's all. So now inside, go to your vite config.js file. This is a file. So here we need to actually add this code. So right in the plugin section, we will be adding this code right here, which is in the plugin section, Vite compression. So this Vite compression will be coming from Vite plugin compression. So you can see that this will be coming, and it takes three options. First is the algorithm. So it basically supports all the famous ones, which is brotli or gzip. So let me show you first of all gzip. If you compress it, your bundle size with gzip, and then the extension here will be .br, sorry, .gzip, and you can pass the third option verbose to true. So it will only just tell you it will print out information about the compression process. So if you just write this like this, and one more thing, you just need to add this in the build. So it is already added, yes, next, you will see that. So if you now execute this npm run build, so now the size will be considerably reduced because it is applying this gzip algorithm. So it will now have two files right here, two additional files, which is the z. If you check your dist folder, so it has two more files, which is gzip file. This is your main file, 94 kilobytes. This is your gzip file, which is created, 27 kilobytes. This is a css, which is 8 kilobyte, and gzip file, which is 3 kilobyte. So by default, all browser, including Chrome browser or Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari, supports gzip compression by default. So if you deploy to Vercel, it will automatically compress your application using gzip. But if you don't use Vercel, if you just use shared hosting, this is very mandatory step that you want to compress your application using gzip or brotli. So let's suppose if you want to now use brotli here, you can simply go to this and just change it to brotli compress, and then .br for brotli. So this is a second algorithm. So the size will even reduced. You will see now there will be this file, br file, which stands for brotli. So even the size is reduced, 94 kilobytes, it is now 24 kilobytes. So brotli even more reduces your size. So it typically depends upon the server, which file it will serve, either broadly or gzip, depending upon the configuration of the client. So now we will deploy this application to Vercel, and we can simply write here Vercel dash dash prod. This will deploy your application for Vercel. It will ask some questions to set up and deploy. I will say yes, and which scope you want to deploy to. I will say no. What's your project name? I will say person CRUD app. In which directory code is located, it is there in the same directory. So now it is uploading. My want to modify these settings, I will say no. So it is actually deploying this project to production. So it will give you this. And one more thing, you need to delete this file which is present right here, which is this file pm log yml. So just delete this file before you deploy your project to Vercel. So simply delete this and rerun your application. So now it will give you your production URL once it deploys the application. So now your application is deployed. Very simple. SolidJS application. Just copy the URL and paste it. If I refresh my dashboard as well, if you see this file, this project is successfully deployed. If I paste the link, this is, you first of all need to, you can see this is a project. You will see that. So you can see that the application is deployed and it is working perfectly fine. So in this way you can deploy and make your SolidJS application. We can edit the details like this. You can delete this. So the full source code, guys, is given in the description. You can directly purchase it if you want the full source code with full documentation and directory structure. I will provide you full support. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well, and I will be seeing you in the next video.